All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to jump back in time, and I mean way back, to talk about a piece of software that did so much more than just run our computers. No, this thing, it basically defined a whole era of our digital life. Okay, just for a second, close your eyes. Can you hear it? That, that bright, kind of optimistic little chime? The sound that meant you were about to boot up and dive into a whole new world. For literally hundreds of millions of people, that was the sound of their gateway to the internet, to their friends, to a totally new way of doing things. Yeah, that sound, of course, belonged to Windows XP. But look, this isn't just going to be some dry explainer about an old operating system. No way. This is the story of a true cultural icon. We're talking how it rose up, how it completely dominated everything, and maybe most importantly, why it was so darn hard for all of us to say goodbye. All right, let's get into it. To really get why XP was such a revolution, you gotta go back. I mean, back to the turn of the millennium. The world of PCs back then, it was kind of a chaotic, divided kingdom. So here's the fundamental problem at the end of the 90s. If you used a Windows PC, you were basically living a double life. Your computer at home and your computer at work, they were running on totally different philosophies. It was like they were from two different planets. So on one side, you had the home stuff. Windows 98. It was fun, right? Colorful, great for all the new multimedia and games that were coming out. But let's be real, it was famous for crashing all the time. Then you had the other side, the professional world, Windows 2000. Now, this thing was built like a tank. It was rock solid, super stable, and secure. The problem? For your average person at home, it was way too complicated and just wasn't fun. So Microsoft knew this couldn't last. You can't have these two separate worlds forever. So they started this top secret project. They gave it a code name, Whistler, named after a ski resort up in Canada. And the mission? It was, to put it mildly, super ambitious. Okay, so here was the plan. It was basically to take the engine, the powerful, stable NT kernel from the business-focused Windows 2000, and smash it together with the fun, easy-to-use, media-friendly front end that people actually liked at home. The end goal? One single operating system to rule them all. One OS that could do everything. And that project, Whistler, became Windows XP. The XP, by the way, stood for experience. And man, what an experience it was. This thing kicked off what was really a golden age of personal computing for everybody. The very first thing you noticed was just the look. This new Luna interface, it was a world away from those boring gray boxes we were used to. Suddenly you had this bright, vibrant blue taskbar, that huge, iconic, almost cartoonish green start button. And of course, the wallpaper. That photo bliss. A picture of a grassy hill that became the single most viewed photograph in history. Even the little clicks and chimes were designed to sound more playful, you know? Less like a scary machine. But it wasn't just pretty. XP had features that completely changed how families use their computer. Think about it. Before XP, if your brother was using the family PC and you needed to check your email, well, he had to save all his stuff, close everything, log out completely, then you could finally log in. It was a pain. But with XP, you got fast user switching. You just click a button, poof, you're on your own desktop, and his stuff is still running in the background totally untouched. I mean, that was an absolute game changer for any shared computer.
And people, they adopted XP like nothing else before. Get this. At its absolute peak, over 80%, that's 80% of all personal computers on the entire planet were running Windows XP. It wasn't just an operating system, it was the digital landscape for a whole generation.
But you know how it goes. With that much popularity comes a massive target on your back. XP's greatest strength, the fact that it was everywhere, was about to become its biggest, most dangerous weakness. The golden age, well, it was about to get hit with a serious reality check. This quote really just nails the whole problem, doesn't it? That friendly, welcoming blue and green face, it was kind of like a mask. Because behind that friendly exterior, the system was built on ideas from an earlier, more innocent time on the internet. And, the bad guys were getting ready to exploit that trust in a huge way.
Yeah, it all boils down to this idea called a security monoculture. The best way to think about it is like a farmer who only plants one kind of corn. If a specific disease comes along that loves that one type of corn, it doesn't just damage the field, it can wipe out the entire harvest. And with over 80% of the world's PCs running the exact same software, a single virus didn't just cause a problem, it could trigger a global digital pandemic, like overnight.
And that is exactly what started to happen. The 2000s basically became the decade of the great XP worms. In 2003, Blaster hit the scene, and it would just force your computer to shut down over and over. Super annoying. But then in 2004, Sasser showed up. And this one was terrifying because it could infect your computer without you doing anything. You didn't have to click a link, open an email, nothing. It just got in. And then came Conficker, which was next level. It took millions of XP computers and secretly enslaved them into this giant global zombie network called a botnet. And all this chaos, it burned one image into our collective brains, the blue screen of death, right? It was the ultimate symbol of it's over. It represented just how fragile our new digital lives really were, and it was a constant reminder of the war being fought just beneath that cheerful blue taskbar. Now, Microsoft definitely fought back. They released big security updates, especially the huge one, Service Pack 2. But the world was already moving on. And here's the crazy part. Even when newer, shinier, more secure systems like Vista and Windows 7 came out, XP just refused to go away. It just wouldn't die. Its goodbye turned into the longest farewell tour in software history. So why? Why did everyone cling to it so tightly? Well, a big piece of the puzzle was just plain old familiarity. People knew it was comfortable, it worked. But there was another huge reason: critical software. We're talking businesses, hospitals, even governments had built entire systems that only worked on XP. So for them, upgrading wasn't just clicking a button. It meant tearing down and rebuilding their entire digital infrastructure. And yeah, let's not forget, a lot of people just did not trust the next version, Vista. And just to put its long life into perspective, look at this. Windows 98, Microsoft supported it for about 5 years. Even Windows 7, which was super popular, got 11 years of support. But Windows XP, it got almost 13 years of official support from Microsoft. 13. It's a total anomaly. It doesn't happen. But every reign has to end. And the end date came on April 8th, 2014. That's the day Microsoft finally, officially pulled the plug. They stopped all security updates. And that meant the millions, and I mean millions, of computers still running XP were suddenly completely defenseless, just sitting ducks for any new virus that came along. It had to be done, but wow, what a risky final move. So when you look back, what's the legacy of Windows XP? It's complicated. It's got two sides. The good? It was an absolute triumph. It made PCs truly personal and easy to use for millions of people. It brought those two warring kingdoms of computing together, and it was the friendly face that led a whole generation onto the internet for the first time. But then there's the bad. It taught us some really, really hard lessons. It showed us just how dangerous a security monoculture could be. It introduced the whole world to the ugly reality of malware. And you could even argue its super long life actually slowed down innovation on the web because everyone had to keep making their websites work with its old, outdated tech. You see, in the end, it was so much more than just code. It was the background noise to our lives, wasn't it? It's where you probably set up your first email address, where you discovered new music. And yeah, it was also the source of so much frustration with all those crashes. So it makes you wonder, and this is our final question for you. What really makes a piece of tech unforgettable? Is it that it works perfectly, flawlessly, all the time? Or is it the shared journey? The good parts, the bad parts, the quirks, the crashes, and the triumphs. Maybe that's what makes something stick with us forever.